everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today I'm bringing the limited edition exclusives for Waffle flower called Neenah's Snowflakes and Sledding Gnomes from Trinity stamps. Yes, there's 2 releases today and you might be saying, but there's only 1 card. That's because I am sharing one of my all-time go-to favorite techniques ever, and that is mixing and matching. And I highly encourage you guys, mix and match your supplies. You would be amazed at the things you can create with mixing and matching from across multiple companies. Now, this doesn't always work during STAMPtember when there's multiple companies represented on a single day, but today I felt like the stamp sets would work together perfectly, and I hope that you guys agree. I decided to create a slimline scene card using the images from these 2 stamp sets as well as the greetings. Now, the greetings are not anything alike, but with careful placement, you can mix and match. One of my favorite things to do is to take greetings, and I love to scatter them throughout the card, almost like a storyboard moving throughout the design. Starting with holidays are more fun with friends, moving to snow much fun, then warm winter wishes. Those are all from the Trinity Stamps Sledding Gnomes. And finally finishing to you and your family, which obviously is in a different font, and that's from Neenah's Snowflakes. I love how it looks, and so let's go ahead and get started. And again, I did use my 3.5 by 8.5 panel to help guide me. And I wanted to leave that in the video to show you kind of my thought process when designing a card like this. I know I'm going to be using lots of snowflakes from Neenah's Snowflakes for this. Now, this is a good time to stop and mention, if you are at all interested in picking up Neenah's Snowflakes from Waffle Flower or Sledding Gnomes from Trinity Stamps, these are limited edition exclusives available while supplies last from simonsaysstamp. Pause the video, grab my link down in the description, run over to Simon and grab your stamp sets, and then come back and you can finish watching the video then. I just don't want anyone to be disappointed. Now, I am using the Lawn Fawn HILLSIDE stencils, but I messed up. And about here, I'm like, think I did this. I didn't do this the way I wanted. Now, mess up is probably not the right term. There's not really a wrong. I just needed to do it a little bit differently. And I don't want to waste my paper. So I am going to flip this over and we're just going to stencil it the way that I want to stencil it on the other side. I am going to use Broken China and Blueprint Sketch Distress Oxide inks to build my background. Now, again, just kind of ignore this first part of this because I'm going to redo it. The great thing about using blues is they make fantastic snowy backgrounds, in my opinion. You're going to see me reference my stamps a lot. And I left this part in because I think it's important to share this. One of the things I get asked all the time is, how do you know where to put things? This is my actual thought process. I had looked at the stamps. I had thought about them for a few weeks, yes. And I thought, where do I want everything to go? Well, or do I want to mix and match? It's a whole process, really. But I did ultimately think, yes, I do want to mix these 2 together. I think I could do something super cute. And so I have the benefit of that. But when I actually sit down to create, I often will grab the stamp sets I'm interested in and I start playing around with them. I thought, what stencil do I have in my stash that I could use to help me build and tell my scene? Well, this Lawn Fawn set is a go-to of mine. It might be of yours as well. So that's how I started this. So once I have stenciled the other way, below the stencil, as you can see. That way I can use the other part of the stencil. I just slide it down to use the other half, if you will. I am going to use it to mask off my quote-unquote snow, and I'm going to give myself a blue sky using broken china, which is what I've used up until this point, but now Blueprint Sketch, and that's going to give us that deep, dark, beautiful, snowy blue sky. Now, I like to spend some time getting that ink blend perfect. It's so important to basically start off with a good foundation. And I literally just had one of those moments where I felt like I opened my mouth and my dad's voice came out. He used to do, like, I think they're Lincoln Logs with my kids when they were tiny. They were saved from when my brother and I were little. And he would always tell my kids, you know, we got to start with a good foundation when they would build things. I feel that way about cards. You've got to start with a good foundation, especially with a scene card. Well, maybe any card really. But I always like that background scene to help tell my story. And of course, these gnomes and reindeer are out in this snowy, you know, snowdrifts, sledding and having a fantastic time. I do want to mention my favorite image from the sledding gnomes is that cute reindeer with the big gnome nose. How adorable is he? Absolutely amazing. Okay, once I have my background stenciled, I'm happy with how that looks. Let's figure out our placement of our images. Our images and greetings, because we're going to stamp our greetings first. I've got them all laid out. We're going to grab our MISTI. And then I'm going to remove the image stamps, and we are going to stamp the top sentiment, holidays are more fun with friends, with Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Royal ink. And then we're going to stamp Snow Much Fun and Warm Winter Wishes with Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Marine ink. Then underneath Warm Winter Wishes, we're going to stamp To You and Your Family using the Royal ink again. And I like to do this first. It just eliminates, I know I'm going to pop up my images with foam adhesive. You guys know I'm going to too, right? I mean, we know what Nichol likes to do here. So it makes it easier to stamp now. I know where my images are going to go, so let's just go ahead, stamp our greetings now, then we can stamp and color our images, and we can come back and put it all together. Now, this card came together in an hour or less. Maybe it's because I had been thinking about it and knew what I wanted to do, but it literally came together so Once fast. We have all of our sentiments the way we want them to look, it's time to add some snowflakes. So I am going to kind of use my stamped images again as guides. I know that I want to do several snowflakes in embossing and watermark ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder, but I also want to do some snowflakes in the same blue inks that I've used for the greetings and scatter those throughout the snow. Really utilizing a lot of the smaller size snowflakes, just not that beautiful large snowflake from the Waffle Flower set. You could always do so many fun things with that for some other cards. It just doesn't lend itself well to this particular scene card. However, I think I used pretty much all the other snowflakes, so they all did work, including that what I would call the second largest snowflake, but it's still more on the small side. We put that up in the sky. So let's stamp that little one that I put down there first. We're going to stamp that with the royal blue ink. Then we're going to stamp our snowflakes up in the sky with embossing and watermark ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder. Then we'll scatter a few additional snowflakes throughout the design, kind of over the snow, if you will. Now, I was able to do 3 of the snowflakes at once, but a couple of them one of them, I should say, I want to hang off the right side of the card, and I am going to need to move my cardstock cardstock to a different position to be able to do that effectively. And so we're going to do these 3. I'm going to flip my cardstock around, and then we'll do the other 2. And then, like I said, we'll do a few additional snowflakes. This again is just background scene building. What can we add that helps tell the story? And in this case, I love a good snowflake background when I'm doing a snowy scene card. There are so many great snowflakes in this set. Now, I do want to mention that this Waffle Flower Galena's Snowflakes set would be amazing with the technique that I used in the Gina K video earlier this month. I've also used, and I believe it was a Waffle Flower stamp set or a Simon set, I can't remember. A few years ago, I did a similar technique with a snowflake set where I stamped on a colored cardstock panel, different snowflakes, and I would emboss them with different colors of embossing powder. It is one of my favorite kind of go-tos for an elegant style card. So while this is whimsical and fun, and we've made the snowflakes work with a whimsical and fun, the snowflakes on their own could definitely be more elegant, super versatile, and I can't stress enough that the size of the snowflakes in this snowflake set are some of my all-time favorite. I think that this is an amazing set, and then it has some really, really nice greetings. Still using my clear stamps as guides, and then let's go ahead and stamp those. We've got our snowflakes now, and it's time to do a little coloring. Now, these are 5 images, but they color up so stinking quick. I'm going to try to maximize my time by coloring everything that is a certain color at the same time. We do want to, well, you don't have to, but I tend to like to start with the noses when I'm doing gnomes. So I've got my colors here I'm coloring in. I am using Olo markers. The colors I'm using are listed down in the description below the video here on YouTube, as well as over on my blog. If you click the link in the description, you can go over to my blog and see that information there as well. I have a link for Olos down in the description if you're interested in starting your collection, so definitely check that out. Lots of red. I love red against a snowy backdrop. I mean, obviously the kind of the Christmas feel of it, but I also think it really provides that beautiful pop of color. I am not using tons of colors today. We've got, some reds, some neutrals. We are going to do a little blue for one of the gnomes, and then the green for the trees. That's really it. So the same brown color combination or neutral color combination I'm using for the sled, I'm also going to use for our little Gnomey Rudolph here. That's what I'm going to call him, because he's got that big red nose, but he definitely has the gnome kind of look with the hat over the eyes. Just kind of funny. But I love, and he has a cute little collar with the little jingle bells. We are going to give him a red nose, so we will come back and do that here in a minute. All right, let's pull in some darker brown shades now. Do a little blenderoo. I do not know why I've been saying things like that a lot lately, like switcheroo and splatteroo or whatever I said. I have no idea. It's the STAMPtember coming out. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of dark over here. And then blend out with my mid-tone kind of. I need to move my cardstock down, please, please. I hope I did. I mean, I realize I know I'm voicing this over lots later, but sometimes I don't realize that I zoomed in and I was out of frame a little bit. So we can only hope that I realized it. We shall see. Tree trunks, also same brown color. If they're not going to be right next to each other and it doesn't matter a whole lot, I like to just kind of keep it all the same. For the trees, a nice easy base layer with my lighter green color. Just go all over, give it a nice good wash of color. And then with my dark color, I'm going to feather in the texture. We're not even going to overly blend. The fastest way to do trees. It's so quick and easy. So just feathering all of that in, like so. I love it. Okay, once we have that little red nose, I see I forgot. The red collar. And then we need to outfit our gnomes and give them their mustache and beards. The beards are any kind of hair is another thing that I don't want to overly blend. So you'll notice I'm doing more of a flicking type of technique. I did that with Warm Gray 3, and then I'm going over it with Warm Gray 1, doing the same thing. So I'm not blending it out necessarily. It softens the darker edges a bit, but it just gives that fantastic hair texture. Then the blue definitely ties into our background, and I chose it for that reason, but it looks great with the red. So, and then we're going to do a little bit darker gray for the shoes. These would make cute tags. The little reindeer would make a cute tag. The gnomes on the sled would make a cute tag. So if you're a tag maker, I definitely think there's some opportunities here to create some super fun little gift tags. Try to make sure we get all of the little shoes and mittens and all of that stuff colored correctly. Now I am going to go in with a white pen, and we're going to add some highlights and details in a few places. I always like, you know, adding in just a little extra. I think it gives the images a little something. So we're going to create some polka dots on the blue hat, and then also some texture to the pom-pom with some little white dots too. Some stripes on the red hat, and then some little dots on the green pom-pom. Highlights for everything else. Cheeks for our reindeer, and then just little highlights here and there. And then full disclosure, again, you probably are used to this. I did not have the dies. I did use the Brother Scan and Cut to die cut my images. If you buy the coordinating stamp die bundle, your die cutting may look a little bit different than mine. I'm going to put foam adhesive on the back of my images, pop these up in my scene. I know exactly where they go. We've already done all the work for that. Popping those little cuties up. And I just love how the sentiments and the images move you through the scene of the card, and it creates wonderful movement. If you've never done a storyboard type or style of scene card before, it doesn't have to be slimline. You can do this on a standard A2. You could do it on a 5x7. It's just a really fun way to create that movement or that story in a card design. Oh my gosh, I just think it's so cute. Even if you cut the card off right there, you know, underneath the gnomes that are sledding on a standard size card, I think that would be adorable. And then we've got one more little tree, and you could do as many trees as you wanted to as well. That would be fun. Okay, so now embellishing. We're going to use some crystal lacquer. Glossy accents would work as well for the reindeer nose and the jingle bells. We're going to take some red heart accents, and we're going to bring the red from the images we colored up into the upper third of the card, because that's a lot of blue and white up there. So we're going to embellish a couple of the snowflakes and add an additional little red candy heart. Besides, I have to have a heart somewhere. We're going to take some additional little clay snowflakes, and I did pick the light and the dark blue to match the theme of the card. And then we're going to scatter a few of those throughout the design as well to finish it off before adhering the panel to a white slimline card base. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this slimline scene card featuring the 2023 STAMPtember limited edition exclusives from Trinity Stamps and Waffle Flower Crafts. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to click the notification bell to always be notified when there is a new video or I go live. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again next time.